My Life Between Lives story from Newton Trained Institute practitioners.
I see a whole change in the thrust of searching for answers about who we are and why we're here. And I think it's wonderful, and I just hope the movement continues to expand.
Let us expand the universal consciousness together with a My Life Between Lives story presented by the Michael Newton Institute.
Welcome to My LBL Story. My name is Ekomananda. Today we have special guest, Diericx. Millie has been an energy therapist and hypnotherapist for the past 25 years. Her journey began with searching for alternative methods after conventional treatment for lupus failed. Traditional medicine only alleviated symptoms with side effects, motivating her searching for effective healing techniques, which she now offers to others. Her journey led her gaining a master's in Ericksonian psychotherapy, specializing in past life regression, life between lives therapy, and quantum consciousness, exploring the deeper mind and searching for spiritual clarity. She later pursued a PhD degree in thanatology, focusing on grief processing. Recently, she has also been participated in Bill Bennett's documentary film, Facing Fear, alongside experts like Joe Dispenza and Bruce Lipton. These days, Millie employs the conscious method, integrating her lifetime knowledge to enhance the consciousness and the well-being of others. A big warm welcome to Millie. Thanks for coming to the show.
Thank you, Ekomananda, for having me.
It's a great pleasure to have this opportunity to learn about your story. I'm sure millions of people, so many audience is intrigued about your story of healing yourself from lupus. Could you please share with us a little bit more about your story?
Of course. I was 30 years old. My second son had just been born, and he was 2 months old, and then I started getting symptoms. Symptoms that weren't new to me because I had had them, but separate. But in this week, just everything came together, and I had incredibly high fevers in which I was hallucinating. It ate all my muscles. My skin was falling apart. Every single one of my joints was swollen out of proportion. It was just wreaking havoc with my body. And at the end of 1 week, this was just 1 week. At the end of 1 week, it was attacking my central nervous system. It was already there in the skull, in the brain. So when I finally reached the doctor, he said, you have 2 days to live because it's already attacking your central nervous system. So basically, bye-bye. Put your affairs in order. You're going to die. But he gave me immunosuppressants, and he gave me incredible amounts of prednisone, and I survived, fortunately, and I'm here. But I spent about 6 months in bed, and that was my prognosis. My prognosis was you're going to be in bed for the rest of your life in a dark room because light, even artificial light, was so painful to me. It felt like acid. So I was going to be in a dark room with immunosuppressants, so I couldn't be with people, not even my 2 sons, not even my newborn baby, because they could give me some disease and I could die. So I was basically a vegetable in a dark room. So I thought to myself, what kind of life is this? And do I want to live like this? And the answer was no. So I said that there must be another way. And of course, I know, because I was already studying these alternative methods before, I had already dabbled into this, that their body can heal itself. If you cut yourself, you heal. If you get a cold, you heal. So I was thinking, why couldn't my body heal from this? So I said, there must be a way. And I started looking for alternative methods. And many of them don't work. There are a lot of charlatans out there, and many of them are just, they don't work. But some of them do. So everything I learned was what worked for me, I went and studied it, and then I started doing it with other people because I've always been a sharer. So I was in the courses and I was thinking like, oh, this will be so good for Ekomananda because she just told me she suffers from, I don't know, migraines or something. So I was always thinking about other people and applying all this knowledge to others. So I became a therapist with the very first thing I studied, which was being a Reiki master, because Reiki gave me that energy. It was just a little bit of energy because I was so exhausted. I could just do like one thing, like maybe bathe or be with my sons for 10 minutes. That's all I could do. But Reiki would give me that energy. So the first thing I studied when I could was Reiki. And from there, I went to all sorts of other places. And I started getting better and better and better. And I started like trying to find the formula of what was working. Took me 14 years, to be perfectly honest, in dabbling and just searching and studying when I fell across LBL and the MY Institute. And that actually was a closing gem, I could say, of all these healing techniques, because the other ones deal with the body. Reiki passes energy, and acupuncture, deals with the meridians, and all these things were healing my body. But until I got the clarity of the beyond, did I actually heal, if that's any way to put it.
Amazing story. So how long did it take you to actually eventually heal yourself from lupus?
About 14 years to stop the flares. And then after a couple of LBLs done on myself, to get the clarity of the purpose of this illness. Because everything you and I know has a purpose.
And what's the purpose of you experiencing lupus?
I'm a soul studying to be a healer. You know that souls get their own pathways, and I'm developing into a healer. So I had to be the wounded healer. This archetype of the wounded healer. I had to experiment this in my own body and be able to heal myself in order to lead people how to heal themselves and help them, because you can't really understand something unless you have lived it. And that's the basic purpose of me experiencing this illness and being able to go from my deathbed, literally, and you're going to die in 2 days, to a perfectly normal life in however many years it took me. By now I'm 55 and I was 30 then, so 25 years. So that I can lead others through their healing journeys.
When did you first contact LBL therapy?
I think it was around 2012, something like that. And it's a funny story, the way Michael makes himself known, because I was in an airport and I always like to read in airplanes. I travel a lot. So I was in the airport and I had forgotten my book, and that never happens. So I went into the library of the airport and started looking for a book. And Michael's book was just calling me. And I looked at it and I was arguing with the universe. I have a lot of arguments with the universe. I'm not an easy client. So I was saying like, no, I don't want to work on the plane. I'm going to have a novel and I'm going to have fun. So I disregarded the calling and kept looking. Half an hour later, it was just like, okay, the only book that's calling my attention is that. So, okay, I'll buy the book. So I got the book, My Journey of Souls, and I went into the waiting area for the airplane and I started reading. By page 6, I said, okay, I get it. I need to study this. And I started looking in the internet because the requisites to get into the course, and it said, you need to have a master's in hypnotherapy. That's where I came up with the Ericksonian hypnotherapy, because I was leaving for the summer. So I searched what master's degrees in hypnotherapy are there in Mexico, and Ericksonian popped up. So I just put my name down and went off in the trip and finished the book in the trip. And it was just absolutely fascinating, because it was a reminder of a previous experience that I didn't remember then, but I remembered during my first LBL, that I had a near-death experience when I was really young, when I was like 3 or 4 years old. I drowned. And I went out of my body, and I saw my body floating there, and I saw the tunnel, and I went through the tunnel, and I was going to the light, and I felt such peace and love, and it was just beautiful. And then my father found me in the waves and took me out of the water and pressed me, and all the water came out of my lungs, and I came back into life. But I remember that during the first LBL. But I was reading the book, Michael's book, and I was saying like, yes, this resonates with me. I know this to be true in the core of my being. So that's how I came across Michael. And then when I finished the master's, I went into LBL, and this was 2014. So it must have been about 2012 because the master's was 2 years.
Amazing. And so did you actually receive LBL therapy immediately after you read the book?
Sort of. During the process of being in the Ericksonian hypnotherapy, I went first to study with Brian Weiss, past life regressions. And then I went to New York to have an LBL with Paul Arnaud, who is absolutely gorgeous and beautiful soul. And he was my first experience, and he's one of the big gurus of this. Unfortunately, I never got to meet Michael because he was already retired by the time I got to the Institute, but I got to meet Paul and do my first LBL with him in his office in New York, and that was such a great experience.
Oh, wonderful. Yes, I love Paul. I love his teaching, his energy is absolutely just divine, that peace we can all resonate with. And when you come to life between life therapy, have you already got the lupus under control, or were there some lingering symptoms hanging on there?
There were still some lingering symptoms. I started getting rid of triggers. First, I started going for the symptoms, and every symptom had a trigger, and I had to solve the trigger and heal the trigger. And then somewhere along the journey, I found the root cause of the situation. And when I healed the root cause, my immune system stopped being so reactive, and I had less and less and less flares. And I think by the time I was in San Damiano, I took the training in San Damiano, my flares were almost completely gone. If I've had another one, it's been very light, and now I have enough consciousness in myself that I know when something is off, and I can just nip it at the bud. So,
were the root causes discovered by life between life therapy method?
No, no, it was discovered by resonance repatterning. But LBL gave me the clarity of the purpose, and so I knew where to look. And I knew that I had come into this life to be a healer. So, and I knew that my family had a lot of problems, and that I had come to be that force of healing for the whole family. Like, I was in the spirit world, and they told me, oh, you want to be a healer? Perfect. I have the perfect, very conflictuated family for you to go into. So in I came. And I came at the worst possible moment for my family, in which all the problems were there. And that was actually the root cause, because when you are conceived in such an environment full of grief and anger and pain and crisis, then you're suffering all those emotions with your mother and with your parents through the whole thing. So that was my inception into the world. Like, okay, you decided to come into the reality of pain. Okay, in you go. And that was actually the root cause.
This family environment that you were born to was discovered through resonance repatterning. Is that correct?
Yeah, resonance repatterning. I found like that to be the root cause of the problem. But I already knew through LBL that my family needed healing, and that I had chosen to come into that family for the purpose of healing that family.
So you received resonance repatterning first before LBL?
I studied it first, yes, and it's been one of my core systems because it works like magic, because it changes. What resonance repatterning does is it finds exactly the root cause of any problem. You can say, I don't know, I don't have enough abundance, or I'm insecure. So you go to the past situation in which this belief was created, and it changes the resonance of that belief in the past. And when you do that and you heal it from the past, then the projection to the future disappears. So it works like magic. It's beautiful. So I find that the combination of the clarity of an LBL, I already knew the purpose of my family and all these, and then finding the root cause in that conception at the moment of all that trouble, just the combination was, okay, now I can heal that. It was just like the two ingredients I needed.
Beautiful. You've done so many different sort of a training, and you equipped with different multi-skill sets to benefit the audience. I mean, had we not known this resonance repatterning method, the root cause perhaps would be revealed by LBR anyway. Would you say so?
Probably. But I don't know if through an LBL we could change the resonance. We get the clarity, we get the consciousness of it, and we bring it from the unconscious mind into the conscious mind. But sometimes just knowing isn't enough. It wasn't for me. I had to go back to that little fetus and change the resonance. Because imagine, every single one of my cells in the body was made on that matrix, on that resonance. So I had to change that belief and bring that clarity of the LBL, of saying all of this has a purpose, and telling that to the little fetus so that their whole perspective changes.
Yes, I love that saying, knowing isn't good enough to heal.
Sometimes, no. Sometimes, yes. Sometimes just knowing is more than half of the problem solved, but sometimes you need a little bit more. That's why I have so many skill sets, because I just take from here, and I do all of these things with my clients.
Yes, because when we know the problem or the root cause of it, it doesn't help to release it. I mean, sometimes it does. Other times it needs deeper drilling and like really cleansing the wound, and then patch it up and sanitize it, give a bit of medicine, leave the time to process, to heal. And then after that, we need to practice it.
Exactly.
Then it becomes a journey of healing, properly healed through this process.
And also, you have memories in the body. So all those bodily memories in the cells have to be healed too. So it's sometimes not enough just to have it in your mind that you are this beautiful being of light who came to this purpose, but you are in a body, and every single one of your cells is alive and conscious, and they have that memory ingrained in them. So that's why I think resonance repattering was such a good tool for me, because since it was from conception, I had to heal every single cell of that belief and that resonance with death and whatever, and grief and all these things.
We have to heal every single cell of that belief. What is your message?
Yes, because we are multidimensional beings, and the dimension of the body also needs healing. Not only the mind and the soul, but also the body.
Yes, so the different layers of the body, of the self, each layer needs to be healed properly.
Exactly. That's what I found.
It's so applicable to all of us. And unfortunately, some people out there are still missing this information, this knowledge.
That's very unfortunate, because it does work. I'm living proof of it. But it's incredible that still many people are very closed to attempting to heal. I think it's sad. But I think in the age of Aquarius that we just entered like completely, with Pluto coming into Aquarius in November, consciousness is going to open up. Everybody says we're in the shift. We should be in the shift, and it should be opening more consciousness.
To those who are not open to this energetic healing method, our consciousness expansion, life between life therapy, past life stuff, all of this, what do you see the reason behind this scenario. I mean, we are aware, we are becoming more open each day. The world is becoming opening up and shifting. But do you see any reasoning behind those who are not open?
One word: fear. Fear keeps us in the known, and people who are very fearful of the unknown just tend to deny it. It's just, no, 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 I don't want to see it. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to do anything. Please don't move my reality, because if you tell me that what I thought is not the truth or the whole truth, then my whole world crumbles, and I can't have that. So it's the ego, and it's the fear of the ego not letting people see anything beyond themselves.
Now we talk about everything happens has a purpose. Is there a purpose for that person to experience such fear?
Probably to be able to overcome it. Like me having the illness. If I hadn't overcome the illness, it wouldn't be such a journey, you know? It wouldn't be such a lesson for me. It would probably just, if I had been always healthy, I could maybe be an alternative therapist, but I would never really understand from the core. So when you're completely blind and you're very fearful and you're completely in the ego, and then you have this consciousness expansion, or you open your mind, it's such a change. And then the lesson really comes home. And as we have seen in the world of the spirit, that's what the soul came here for. It came to have all these experiences to learn. But to really learn, you have to really learn from the body, from every aspect and every dimension. So I think that that's the purpose. That's why we are born, and we forget everything we already knew. And we just come as a clean slate, and we have to relearn everything to see how many lessons really are so learned, like core lessons. Because there are things that you don't forget. Everybody comes with a gift, and that gift is a well-learned lesson of the soul. And no matter what you put that person, that lesson will be always there. Like, I don't know, a Mozart, who at 3 years old presented with a piano can play the piano. Only somebody whose soul has already mastered music in many lifetimes, I think.
Thank you for the beautiful reminder that all this negative emotion that we experience, the purpose is to overcome it. And how easy we can just simply be blind and forgot about that true purpose, to overcome it.
Yeah, to go beyond ourselves and our egos and our problems. We love drama. Oh, humans, we love drama. It's just like ingrained in us. So if we don't have it in our lives, we go looking for it outside. Just incredible.
That's very true. People love drama and becoming attached to the stories. So we encourage people to really look beyond this body and mind.
And we'll get there.
We are doing bit by bit, everybody from different part of the world. We are sharing this oneness energy and hopefully helping those who are interested, who are curious about this energetic healing, this consciousness expansion, to get to know a bit more and to open up to light a little bit more so that you can suffer less. Yes.
Even if just a little bit.
Even just a little bit, yes, that a little bit counts to your well-being and to the whole universe's well-being. I wanted to go back to focus on your term, the wounded healer. Now, this is such a profound or important aspect that is happening in the spiritual community around the world. I wonder what wisdom you could share with those wounded healer. And sometimes I see them that they even fear to come forward to receive healing.
Exactly. But the wounded healer, I mean, the archetype is Chiron, the wounded healer. You remember the story. He was wounded with a arrow from a different army when they were in the war, and he went and healed other people that were wounded too. But he knew what they were suffering because he was wounded too. And that wound never closed. For Chiron, it never closed. So he was always suffering the pain of that wound. And that's why he could be empathetic. And empathy comes from understanding the pain of others through your own pain. It's impossible to understand anybody else's pain if you haven't suffered anything of the sort. For example, I'm a thanatologist too, as you said, and thanatology is the relationship between people and death. So if I had never lost anybody or had a near-death experience, how could I understand death and the pain that the other person is going through? It's impossible until you lose somebody or you die, and then you can give them that perspective about life. I can tell you, when I died, it was just the most beautiful and peaceful and loving experience I have ever had. And I still remember it so clearly because it was so strong. So I have never been afraid of death after that experience, because I've already been there and I know nothing happens. But when somebody loses a person that they loved, they feel that they actually lost them. And now we know from LBL and from all this that you never lose anybody. We're all one in the first place. And then the spirit goes on and they're there. They're just in the other room or in another form, but they're still there and they're still looking at us and they're still waiting for us and they're still taking care of us. And if we can connect to them, they can even send messages because they're in another floor of the building. That's the way I see it. We're in the bottom floor because we only see three-dimensional reality, and they're in the penthouse. So from there, they can see much more. So when we can connect to the penthouse, have a phone and call them, and they can give us so much clarity and understanding. And they're still there. So when the person that lost somebody can understand this, the pain goes away because it's just like, they're still here. They're just in the other room and you can always call them. Oh, then that pain goes away because it's the pain of thinking that they're actually gone forever, that they disappeared, that you will never see them again or feel them again. And we know that's not true. To be able to say that to people and to bring them that knowledge. But if I hadn't gone through it, I wouldn't be so sure as I am. You know, it's a concept.
Yes, we truly have to experience the method of a self and receiving, delivering. And each session is an enlightening experience. You're being repetitively reminded this, this true reality beyond this physical world.
We are. And I think for that, we are so privileged, don't you? Just to be able to be there while people see these realities and just hear them go into these dimensions and worlds is just awe-inspiring. I love what I do.
Yes, it is. It's beyond the privilege. Privilege is the human term that we can barely describe where we stand and be constantly reminded. I remember this saying, everybody brings us love. It's truly mirrored through the therapeutic work that we do. When the spirit guides, whoever that might be, speaking to us through the client's voice, I truly experience that unconditional love as we impart and sharing that core message through whatever technique that we are helping with clients. It's such a wonderful joy.
It is.
Yes. So the wound of the healer actually serves the healing purpose or the healer's purpose.
Yes. And it also serves the connection to the other. Because if I hurt here, I can understand your hurt there. It connects us from the heart. I can really understand you if I can feel the same thing as you, as empathy. As empaths, that most of us in this work are empaths, we can feel what the other person is feeling. So you understand them from that deep understanding, not just in your mind, not as a concept, but in your core being. And I think the other person gets that. They feel understood and they feel listened to and they feel seen. And just that is very healing. just knowing that the person you're talking to is understanding you deeply from their core being, I think it's half of the healing, actually, because
Yeah,
you establish that connection.
the rapport, but the most importantly is the trust established between the two, the therapist and the client or the subject, and then the person felt being heard, being understood.
Exactly. And that's what being the wounded healer gives you. It gives you the humility and the actual experience of the pain to be able to connect to the other person deeply and from the heart, not just from the mind.
So for those who are watching this now, respect and honor that the wound that you carry and face it. There's no need to fear because it's a gift.
It is a gift. And you have to actually accept it and be thankful for it, because your soul asked for that wound. It asked to understand that, because if not, you wouldn't have had that experience. So this beautiful soul that's complete and beautiful and magnificent decided to go into that body to have that experience of that wound, to understand that and be able to connect. And what I have seen in some cases that is really like the example that I want to give people, if you permit me, is like, for example, a person that I know that lost a son to cancer. And I can't think of a bigger pain than losing a son to cancer. And he was a little boy. And she took that pain and she decided to invest her time and her money into an organization for children with cancer. So that's taking the pain that you feel and investing it in helping others that are suffering the same thing. And she also conducts groups for the parents of these kids to be able to understand. But she does it from, I know what it feels like. I've lost a son to cancer. I know what you're going through. And she does it with such grace and beauty that the other parents start to accept the conditions of their sons as the purpose of their souls, because they chose that condition too. I know it's really hard to hear, but for a reason or for a purpose, that soul chose that experience, and they chose those parents. And those parents have to accept the choice of their son or their daughter. So she does it in a way that transmits that privilege or blessing to the parents, to say, you are privileged to accompany this soul who is living this very hard experience at a very young age, because they're usually very old souls that are just, finishing with their karma or whatever. And being there for that beautiful soul, that the soul is not a baby. The soul is complete and infinite and absolute. That chose that experience is actually a privilege. And she just opens the eyes of these parents, of these grieving parents, from grief to acceptance, to feeling honored to accompany that beautiful soul in their journey. Some of the kids get well and some of the kids die. But imagine the change of perspective in that, from, oh no, tragedy, I'm suffering through this, and it must be the most horrible thing. Fortunately, that wasn't my journey. My journey was in my own body. But imagine the change of perspective for a grieving parent to be able to think that way. Changes the whole experience.
Yes. Transforms lives from that moment onward. Once they grasp this sense of purpose and change the experience, live life totally different, being able to embrace that loss and transform it into a blessing, helping others, helping themselves.
Exactly. And that's exactly what she did by getting the clarity of what was the purpose of her losing her son to cancer. Instead of living in the tragedy, which she could have done, just stay in the tragedy of, I lost my son and I'm going to grieve forever. She decided to give it that purpose and give it that change and that reframe and help others going through the same experience. But she wouldn't have been able to do that if she hadn't felt that pain herself, because other parents would say, yeah, it's easy for you to say, but you've never had this. You've never felt this. But she says, no, I have here. That's my son. He's gone now. He's in the other side. And he's talking to me from there. Actually, she made the connection because, as a soul, when you're in the soul world, you make the connection to the other souls. You talk to them. So she did that, and her son told the story of the purpose of the illness and everything. So she came back and she said, yes, I lost my son, but he's fine. He's there. He's a beautiful soul. And we lived this together. We decided to live this together so that I could help you come to terms with your situation. For me, it was amazing to hear that story.
Absolutely. I can imagine how healing that would be for the mother and for so many of people out there and still struggling and trying to make sense of life, of, losing a loved ones.
Exactly. And I found that out through thanatology, and that's how I connected with this person. And then through LBL, she got the clarity, she got the message, she got the connection with the son, and she decided to do this in her life. Just beautiful.
Amazing stories. And you mentioned that you received multiple LBL sessions. Are they all different to one another?
Completely different to one another. It's incredible. The only thing that they have in common is my guide. My guide is always there, and he always meets me in the same beautiful garden. I usually meet him in this, it's a beautiful garden with a bench, and he's usually sitting in the bench waiting for me. But every time the experience is completely different. From there, we go like everywhere. And in the last one, actually, the last experience I had with my guide was during the World Conference in Barcelona. And we were practicing on one another. This new person, this student, was giving a session to me. We realized that my guide, whom I had never known this before, was actually Saint Francis of Assisi. And I had always seen him in this brown robe. And I always thought it was a joke because I'm not a religious person, I have to say. So I always said, it's a joke. And he had, the bald spot there and the robe and everything. And on this session, she said, I think, are you St. Francis? And he goes like, yeah, caught me. You can call me whatever name, but yes. And that was so amazing to me. And this was just now in Barcelona in September. So that was really cool. And I've known this guide for years.
I know some of the experiences happening in our own healing session, like we as a subject receive a healing session from others. It continuously to amaze us and brings that wow, that moment. Aha, well, there's something that even us, we don't know about ourselves.
Exactly. And every experience has been different, and they usually build on each other. Like the first one was just like an introduction to the spirit world and getting the clarity of the illness. That was the whole purpose of the first LBL, the one with Paul. And then a lot of more clarity about me and about my relationships and about the family and all these things when I could get to the core issue. In the second LBL, I got the clarity about why that family that had all those problems. And in the third one was with Savarna. You know Savarna? Savarna in California.
One of the colleagues.
Yeah.
I don't know her in person. I might have seen her name in the group chat.
In the group. Yeah, well, she's an adorable soul. She's just such a sweet soul. And with her, it was so profound. So very profound about myself. And I even got to source. In that one, I went all the way back to source. And I remember her saying, oh, you're being sourced. As if this was a verb when I went back to the source energy. And that was just an incredible experience. And then in the conference, I realized that my guide was St. Francis, which I didn't know before. So they're all very different and they're all a great adventure.
Keep on receiving LBL, keep on experiencing LBL, and keep on giving LBL, and all of them are just continuously fascinating and opening us more expansion and connection. Be the light continuously shining.
Exactly. That's our job. That's why we're here. That's why Michael's books are calling us. We're being called to this work.
Yes, we're being called to do this. And if you're watching this, then you're being called to listen to our conversation and explore LBL.
Exactly. And probably have a session yourself and realize that you are this beautiful, magnificent soul in the other side and that you chose this life for a reason.
Yes, I'm sure if those who eventually receive an LBL from the beginning moment, they're full of a doubt to truly being able to experience the source energy or the higher self, spiritual guide, whatever that you name it. You're never going to regret it.
Never. And what I truly want to say to people that are thinking about this is the clarity you get after an LBL session is compared to nothing. I remember waking up from my first one saying like, oh, I get it now. Like everything was crystal clear. Everything, why I had gotten sick, my life, who I was, everything was just like mind-bogglingly crystal clear. And that clarity is worth gold.
Yes, and that clarity stays with you as in the vibration has been shifted. You now vibrate here, and you stay there, and then you continue to expand, explore, and go higher. It's just magnificent and
Yeah,
mind.
because you can never unknow what you now know. So if you know now, you know now. You cannot unknow or unsee what you have known and seen. So of course you go from there.
That's it. This is no one. We know this bit. We know this bit. So the outside unknown world is outside of this known world. So recently, I heard someone said, so he's not open to such energy healing, and he's suffering from some sort of condition. But I did not approach because I have to respect where he is. He says, what you don't know cannot hurt you. So I wanted to say to those people who share the same mentality is, what you don't know can heal you.
Exactly. And maybe the healing, as in my case, is in the unknown. Usually it is for most people, because if in here you are sick, you are missing a piece, because you, as we all, have the capacity to heal. We
Exactly.
do. Our bodies can do this given the right conditions. And one of the conditions it needs is knowing, is having the clarity of knowing that it can do this. And to be able to know this, you need to know that you're more than your body. Because you cannot get you cannot get a different result doing the same thing. I think Einstein said this, that craziness meant doing the same thing and expecting a different result. So if you're still from the same little mentality and from the same belief system, and you're trying to heal, well, it doesn't work. You have to shift that mentality. And this work shifts your mentality because it gives you that clarity and that expansion. So yes, the healing is on the other side. Sorry.
The healing is on the other side. Oh, you don't have to be sorry. I think that's fantastic that we are letting people know that we don't know everything. And I like that what you said. If the body is suffering, experiencing some sort of a symptom, conditions, pain, whatsoever, that there's a missing puzzle here. There's a missing piece here. And go explore, grab that missing piece from the unknown world and put it back to the body, and you get healed.
Exactly. And then you heal because it's an incomplete puzzle.
Amazing sharing. And I'm experiencing this consciousness, speaks to consciousness, which is it's an internal dialogue that creates so much sparks that helps others to heal as well. Now, as a being therapist, that you have been in the industry for 25 years and healing the self from Lotus, that remarkable story, as in you now being the light of God, helping others, or the light of life. Yeah. What role do you see in LBL therapy and the light workers play on lifting humans' consciousness or Earth's consciousness?
Oh, I think that's what we signed up for. I think when we were in the spirit world, we said, okay, we'll sign up for doing this because we are opening consciousness one at a time. And that experience of every person that we work with, they cannot unknow what they know. So that shift in the energy of the whole humanity, because we are all one. And in the morphic field, as Rupert Sheldrake calls it, when you get to a certain number, have you heard this theory about Rupert Sheldrake? He's a biologist and he was studying monkeys in some islands somewhere in the South Pacific. And he saw a female monkey go and wash the fruit that they were eating. They usually ate it from the floor full of earth. And this female monkey went and washed the fruit and ate it and discovered that she could wash the fruit. And she went and showed this to her partner, to the male, and the male learned. And then they showed this to all the tribe. And suddenly, when enough monkeys knew how to do this in this island, other monkeys in other islands started doing exactly the same thing. So he discovered that there is a morphic field, a field of information for every species. And when you upgrade that information from the field, the whole species evolves. So I think that's exactly what we're doing. Every consciousness that we open, every consciousness that we expand, transmits this new knowledge to the morphic field of humanity. And when we reach a certain point, some people say, in religious people say that is 144,000 souls or something like this. When enough people have this new information, the whole information will shift for the whole of humanity. And we will all start behaving, doing the new things, thinking in the new way, even if we haven't done anything for ourselves. It will just shift as the monkeys. They just started washing the fruit because it just felt normal and fine, and they had that information. And I can see that with kids. Kids today are born with the capability to use technology that we didn't have. When I was born, the TV was sort of a big chunk of thing, and you had to change the channels manually. And there were three channels, at least in Mexico, there were three channels, and the phones were like stuck in the wall, and you had to, and my kids, my sons, if I give them the telephone, they don't even understand how that works. And from the time they were, 6 months old, you gave them an iPad or a phone, and they were able to use it. So that chip, that technology chip, that information is already in them. And I think we're doing the same with consciousness. We are giving that information to the morphic field, and all these consciousness that are opening the field to more and more consciousness until we get to that critical number in which every member of humanity, because we are all a member of the same humanity, can make the shift. So I think our work is incredibly important.
I love that. I love your energy. I love that you're sharing your knowledge, your experience, the expertise in the healing field. And this morphic field is great news for many millions or billions of population out there. So good news for humans.
Very good news. Yeah, you should read Rupert Sheldrake. He has very good news for us.
What is the book title?
You just Google Rupert Sheldrake, The 100th Monkey, I think. The 100th monkey, because when the 100th monkey learned how to do this, they all did. It was just like immediate.
All right, that's pretty fast, and it's not difficult to get 100 monkeys or 100 humans to do the same practice. It's very easy and fast.
With humans, because we're a lot more. They were a small community of monkeys, so we just needed 100. I think we're going to need like 144,000. This number is actually in the Bible, that 144,000 saved souls or something like this.
I've heard of the same stories or theories. I believe it's the 144,000 light workers. Yeah, so for those who are on the pathway becoming a light worker, or still in the shoes, in the position, in the stories of the wounded healer, and we encourage you to step up, even though you may or may not be watching this video, but we pass this energy out and you receive somewhere in your dream state, in your meditative state.
I agree.
Yes.
Well said.
Thank you. And I wanted you to talk a little bit more about your conscious method, which I believe that you perhaps integrated all of your techniques together. You've got all of those: Ericksonian psychotherapy, like LBL, past life regression, allergenic dose, quantum consciousness, Jushu, Reiki, all of those. Yes. And tell us about your conscious method.
As I told you, I was studying this, studying that. This works for this works for that. And then when the pandemic hit and I had to close the clinic, I started sort of telling people how to heal themselves. And I got to thinking, because I had the one precious element I didn't have before, time on my hands, which is very rare in my life. So I got to thinking, what is it that we're doing with all these techniques? What is really the change? And I got to the conclusion that what we're doing is shifting our consciousness. What we are healing is consciousness. Exactly. So that's why I called it the Conscio method. Conscio is the Esperanto word for consciousness. And what we're doing with every healing technique, even with medical doctors, that they're still, experiencing all this evolution and doing all these transplants and things, they're expanding their consciousness and their knowledge. So what we're healing is from there. So that's why I called it the Conscio method. And I made it a method because when I had the clinic, I had to come up with a framework of how to heal people. Because if you came in with headaches, but the other person came in with stomach upset, we had to part from a base. And that base is the body, because the body is what brought you to the clinic. So we start with the body and the consciousness of the body, the lowest form of consciousness. So get to know yourself and what's good for you and expand from there. So I divided consciousness into 4 levels. The first is the egoic consciousness. That's the one that has a name and that lives over there or over here and that dresses in red or whatever. And we need this egoic consciousness to function in the world, because in the world we need to be able to drive a car and to have a job and to keep house and to cook food and to keep our body alive. So egoic consciousness has its purpose and its place, and that's our everyday consciousness, this one. And then the second level of consciousness, I said it was the empathic consciousness. That's where we connect. And I think one of our jobs is to connect people to their empathic energy, to be able to understand the other and live with other human beings as brothers, which we haven't accomplished as humanity yet. As we can see, there's still wars going on and still disputes over borders because we cannot see each other as a brother. We still think you're there, I'm here, and I have to take care of me. And so that's the egoic consciousness still. So that's the second step, just being able to be empathetic to other humans and live as brothers. Second level. The third level is unity. When we go beyond just you and me being brothers to know we are just one, expressed in all these myriad forms and beautiful bodies, but we are just one consciousness. And that's where all religions and meditative techniques and most of what we do also want to take you to source energy, to unity, to we are all one and we are all the same. But then there's a fourth level of consciousness, and that's the void. That's the even before anything existed. And I came to know this in a mystical, I can't say anything but mystical experience that I had. It was completely unprovoked. It was, I think, a Tuesday, and I was asleep in my bed with my husband. I could hear him snoring, and I was completely paralyzed in my bed. And I could feel myself being taken somewhere, but still conscious of being in my bed. It was a really bizarre experience. And in this going somewhere, I started feeling like I was going at incredible speeds, and reality started sort of undeveloping, sort of going backwards in time. So first I saw forms, and then geometric forms, like the basic geometry of the universe. And then I went into colors and then vibrations. And after vibrations, I just fell into this void. And in the void, there's truly nothing. It's before light, before time, before anything. It's just eternal consciousness, being conscious that it's conscious before anything is anything. And this void it's really strong to be there. It's an experience that needs a little bit of coming to terms with. It took me several years to come to terms with that experience because it's just incredible to be in the void. And I was the void. I was the point and the infinity, and everything I put my attention to, it was like being the eye of God. So if I imagine something or put my attention in something, a whole universe became. And if I took my attention away, it just dissolved. And then another universe and another dimension. And it was just because from that point of consciousness, everything became, or this became, and it was the point of nothingness and everything and light and darkness and no opposition, nothing. And the nothing is a concept that is really hard to come to terms with because we have never experienced nothing. No sound, no light, no form, no time, no space, no limits. You're the point and the infinite at the same time. And that's the last level of consciousness that I'm conscious of. Maybe there's others, but I can see going from nothing to anything more deep. But that's why I divided it into 4 levels of consciousness. But for the 4th one, for the void, there's really no practice that I know that will take you there. The people that I have read that have experienced this are all like me, just spontaneous, like suddenly I'm here and then I can see the void or I can fall into the void. But there are no meditations or no spiritual practices that will take you there. I think Buddhism is the closest one to it because they do meditate on the void and death and the dissolvement of all form. But it's the closest one. But I don't know if maybe the Buddha got there. I don't know. I haven't experienced the consciousness of the Buddha, but I have experienced the void and it's really incredible. So that's why I divided consciousness into 4 realms or stages or levels, whatever you want to call them.
I love that sharing and your incredible enlightening experience of void. We do talk about a void in our work, virtual work that might be. We talk about the jhana, which void is the nothingness space. So everything actually manifests from nothingness. So to grasp the nothingness, we encourage people to sit with us during our love circle, monthly love circle. If I just say the only practice that can get you there is it's meditation, but now based on my therapeutic role in this body, I think healing and meditation together. What happens is some people, they sit just meditate. Strangely, some people who are strong meditators do not believe in this healing method or have not been open to this, light work that we do, which there's a purpose behind, as we all know. So we just leave that. We just sit with it. People don't believe in it. That's perfectly fine. This void energy, this nothingness energy, they can go there and come back down and cannot integrate. The reason they cannot integrate is they have stuff in the past has not been completely healed. Therefore, the energy is not pure enough to hold onto the space of a void. And they still have this illusion of wanting to achieve something. There isn't anything to achieve. That's my personal opinion. It might be even different to yours, Millis, as you got all these degrees and doctors, PhD, master's degree. Brilliant. But I'm not saying this by upsetting anybody or being disagreement with anything. It's just my personal experience. The void space is beautiful.
It is beautiful and it's completely empty. And no, there's nothing to achieve. We do this because we like it. I'm a incessant explorer of the world and I love studying and I love learning. But no, in reality, we already are absolutely everything because we are absolutely nothing. We are just projections of the divine mind. So we're not even real. This isn't even real. These are just tiny atoms that are just stuck together because somebody, the great mind, wills it so. Because there's actually, and I've got into physics too, into quantum physics, and they haven't found any reason for our atoms to stick together. There is like no energetic, no physical reason for that energy packet to stick together because they're just empty space. So we are in reality empty space, packets of energy that somebody put together. And I was watching the other day, maybe this is interesting to you, a documentary about the Big Bang. It was in the TV, it was a complete documentary. And they were saying that from the Big Bang, which I think is this mind of God saying, okay, now I want to create, and just everything created. There's, in the first second, all the laws of physics were established. But there is a moment where actual molecules or particles came to be. But when a particle comes to be, it comes to be with matter and antimatter. And matter and antimatter annihilate each other. So they collide and disappear. And something that physicists cannot explain made the antimatter of certain particles go away. That's why they talk about different universes. And they talk about a universe made of antimatter because this particle of antimatter had to go somewhere else in order for this particle of matter that's sitting here called milli and that particle of matter called Ekomananda to be here. Our anti-milli and anti-Ekomananda had to be taken out of the equation. And that all happened in the first second of creation. So all the matter that's here were the particles that stayed and didn't annihilate with their antimatter. And I was just like, if people that discover this cannot believe in the mind of God and of a supreme being sort of saying, okay, you go there, you go here because I want to create something, or it's going to annihilate. And that was my experience from the void. When you think of something and it just creates, well, its opposite must be creating on the other side, the antimatter to the matter. So I thought that was just mind-boggling.
Such an eye-opening or mind-blowing, sharing experiences is matter and antimatter, which is pulling this, positive pole and negative pole, together. How can you utilize this knowingness, or how can you climb the ladder continuously, expand your knowingness by utilizing what you know, by utilizing the mind. I mean, some say the mind does not exist, but so long, I think, so long we breathe, we have ego. The ego is here to survive, to do what it's supposed to do. Yeah, do a course, do some healing for others. It's helping one another. We're never separate. We're never just being here. Oh, I have this mission, I have this purpose. No, we're never separate from one another. We are always together doing
Never.
one thing.
Because we're all just God's mind, being itself in so many forms.
Yes, the universe manifests as a different matter, different object, different subject, different item, different, atom, molecules. So the audience can connect to you through your website, finding your books on Amazon.
Yeah, my books are all on Amazon. I've written 2 books, one called Befriending the Wolf, the guide to living and thriving with lupus, about my whole story with the lupus and almost dying. It was like my cathartic moment of taking that story out of the drama out, and how I started healing myself. That book was written in, I think, 2012. And then I wrote the Conscio method in the pandemic, doing all this thinking exercise of what are we changing here? Why are we being able to heal people? And that's how the Conscio method came to be. And also through my website, which is also Conscio, it's www.conscio, which is spelled KONSCIO.mx. I'm in Mexico. And there you can send me an email or whatever, and I'll be happy to answer any questions or do anything. We're explorers together. Let's explore this beautiful reality that we've created.
I love your energy. You just got so much to offer, to share, and it's so unconditional, so beautiful.
That's why I'm here. That's what I do. That's what we do.
Yes. And so you have some training coming up.
Yes, I'm going to do the program of self-healing. It's called Healing from Within, and that's in February and March. All the dates are in the website, and that's to teach people all these tools that I use on myself, and I still use them because things come up in life every day. So and they're absolute gold, and I'm teaching people how to use these tools, then you keep them forever, to be able to heal themselves. That's my synthesis of everything I've been doing is, okay, let's help people heal themselves and let's teach them how to do this in the most practical and easy way possible.
Well, you've got that remarkable story, which is in your personal experience, that is totally valid and it needs to be known to the world.
Yes, and it does work. I just gave that course in November, and an 83-year-old woman took it, and she had diabetes. And her blood sugar levels are lowering because she could find the root cause of the problem. Actually, the course is finding what triggers your symptoms, finding the root cause of the problem, how to heal that, and how to rewrite your story from that, and then find the purpose. All my healing journey, finding the purpose of that, having that, and sort of expanding the healing into the past and expanding the healing into the future so that you can project yourself and create a new life as you want to live it without that idea of you being sick. So it's like the whole process, and I boiled it down to 6 weeks, 1 hour a week. I leave you homework, of course, but I teach you all the methods, and then I leave you 1 week to practice. And by the end, even people that had never done anything like this before got so much healing out of it. She's impressive because at 83, she has had diabetes for 50 years and she's needing much less insulin. She's lowering her blood sugar levels just using that.
Amazing story. So much love to what you do and sharing the essence and your experience. So many people need it and truly need it. And for the world to become a better place, every one of us counts.
We all count. We need to get to the 100th monkey. And each one of us is a monkey. So come on, people, let's get there.
That's it. Come on, and if there's stuff that is hidden in you, let it come out. Look for a therapist. That Millie is so beautiful, and her course is so affordable. And if anyone you want to heal, you can afford to see Millie. I'm not exaggerating, and that's the matter of fact. We are open. We are open and welcome all of souls. Sisters and brothers coming forward, don't be shy. The doors are open, and my healing is on donation basis. So everybody come.
If somebody can't pay the price, I'm open to anything because, the whole idea is to heal as many people as possible and to teach all the. And you know what? Another thing that I want to say about that course, a mother took it and now she's using those techniques on her daughter, and the daughter is getting the benefits. Because now she's got the tools. So it's not only for you, you can also use it on the people around you and help heal the world.
Amazing. And so the course is conducted in English?
Yes, I'm going to do it in English. I do it in English and Spanish once a year. And the next one is in English and in February, March. And it's also recorded. So if the time zone is not good for you, but you're in the group, you can watch it anytime you like. The idea is to get as many people as possible, I don't care where you're from, to enter the course and to be able to heal themselves and heal their communities and, their families, and just to enjoy the life they have. We're here to enjoy and be happy.
Amazing. We're here to enjoy life, have fun, and make it worthwhile. Even though this is not a permanent journey, but make the most out of it when you do have a body. Don't waste the time here. Have fun.
Exactly. And when we're back in source, we can say, yes, I did something good for all my fellows.
Yes, that's something when we leave this body, when this body perishes, we can say, I looking back, that's pretty fun journey, I had a wild journey, I did something good, and I'm proud of myself.
Exactly. And I did the best I could with what I had and helped a lot of people. And you know what you do take? I have had a near-death experience. You don't take your money, you don't take your clothes or your jewels or anything like that. But you do take what you did for others and the love. The love you gave and the love you received, that stays with the soul and that just goes with you. And it's so fulfilling.
Yes, the experience is well summarized in the form of energy. It goes with yourself. The spirit goes to source energy. We all contribute.
Yeah, that's why you have to do something worthwhile, because that satisfaction of having done that goes with you.
Yes, wonderful. We are nearly coming to the end of our conversation. I mean, you've shared a lot of jewels, sparks, diamonds. Do you have one final piece of advice to share with our audience?
Yes, what I always like to share with audiences is there is always hope. Do not lose hope in yourselves, in your healing, in humanity, in the planet. Everything has a purpose. We're all here to do something, and there's always, always hope. And everything can be healed. Even our poor planet that we're destroying by acres can be healed. We saw that during the pandemic when we just stopped. The world stopped, and nature just came back, flourishing. So even our planet can heal if we let it, and our body can heal if we let it. So it's all in our hands to give those conditions, that proper environment for healing to occur. And healing occurs naturally because it's part of God's plan, of the universe's plan, of the whole system. So there's always hope.
There's always hope. And thanks, Millie, for your wonderful insight, your beautiful energy, and your incredible healing journey. I wish you the very success in your training, and I encourage you, all of our audience, whoever that might be, share Millie's story and bring your friends and the families coming together and do a short course. It's not a lot of a commitment. It's only 6 weeks, 6 hours, and it's a very simple and easy journey.
The easiest I could make it, I promise. No hay, no flourishings. It's just what you need to know to be able to heal.
Exactly. You see that all in Millie's face. She's very simple and straightforward. You can see the bottom of her heart. And thank you so much, Millie, for coming to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I so enjoyed it.
It's just fabulous, and I'm absorbing your energy. I love your energy. You're so bubbly. You're so out there and just shine, and you dance so beautifully. Thank you.
It's about the joy. So let's enjoy. That's what enjoying means. Just be in the joy.
Be in the joy. Thank you so much once again for coming to the show. Love and light to you and to all of our audience.
All of our audience, thank you for listening.
Thank you.